Good morning to everybody in the Americas. Welcome to another MusiCafe. I'm glad you're joining us today. Very special guests. I have to acknowledge that we have also visitors from all over the world in Europe. Good afternoon, good evening, and around the world. Thank you very much for joining us. Special guest today. And I'm not going to introduce them without having them on screen. So here they are. I'm so glad to have José Paulo Fiks and Andrés Santos Jr., who
Hello.
are, good morning, who are joining us
Hello.
from Sao Paulo this morning. They are, I don't even know how to introduce you properly. We went through this a little earlier, but it's so, they're psychiatrists, both of them. They've taught around the world. They taught in the U.S., currently at Unifesp, the Federal University of the State of Sao Paulo. They're specialists in neuroaesthetics, and we'll get into that soon. And they have projects all over the place. I'm so glad that you're joining us. And in full disclosure, they're the official psychiatrist team of Symmetrica. So thank you for joining us. First of all, I need to ask you how are you? How's the family? How's everybody in Sao Paulo? The news that we hear in North America is, always a little tainted, but we want to hear how things are there right now.
Hi, Alex. Thanks a lot for having us. Things in São Paulo and in Brazil are terrible in general. you know. But okay, you are asking over the pandemic and the coronavirus, etc. It's a very special moment. Everything is closed here. Theaters, movies, shows, concerts. I don't know. And we are suffering and we are adapting these new times, new positions, and we are going on.
As
Good
uh,
morning.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Alex, for inviting us and having a few minutes to talk about our work, mainly with psychiatry and music, and psychiatry and classical music. And things here are getting better because our show, our talk, and we're going to talk beautiful things and show beautiful and nice music and talk about a nice future to have together.
Mhm.
Excellent. I've attended together with you, not together, but we've been together in operas in New York. We've been together in symphonies in Sao Paulo, ballet in Sao Paulo as well, and probably New York as well. Um, but one of the things, and right behind you, you have one of the biggest collections I've seen in my life of recorded operas. I think, if I'm not mistaken, you have the largest collection in Brazil, and
Yeah.
probably one of, if obviously not the largest, but one of the largest also around the world. And we've enjoyed a lot of performances together, choirs and ballet, as I said. But if you could tell me, to start this conversation, the art that you select first is opera, and my question is, why opera?
Um, I suppose it's not the first, but it's a opera is an art consequential. It's following some another form of art. I will explain. I was training as I studied piano as a boy. My mother was a piano teacher, and music was part of my life, my sister and my home. And uh, around my early teenager, 12 or 13, I went to make a theater course, and then I discovered the musicals, and together with what my mother has already taught me over songs and I don't know, Italian music and Napolitan music, and my nonno, my grandfather that was Italian, I was a little bit prepared to put together music and theater, and then I discovered opera. It was around 15, 16 years. And then when I saw with my grandfather Aida at the Teatro Municipal, and I was taken aback. I was really impressed. And then I suppose I choose. I like the thing. It's music, it's theater, I don't know, orchestra and scenography, and it's a very huge, big spectacle. And I would like to I don't know to know more about this. This was my introduction.
I think I'm not so Italian like Anders said. I think I'm not. I chose opera and classical music because of the philosophical things, the psychiatry method of music and mainly opera. Then I think we match with this kind of difference, and he's more emotional, and I think I'm more cerebral, and I think we are going together with,
Okay.
in this difference.
Um,
Yeah.
my first opera that I ever saw was in I think it was the Teatro Municipal. I saw a Mozart opera, and I was not very. It was very hard to take in. It's too much, and it's long. I think they're still playing 5 years after the opera is still going. But then I went to see Thais, and it's the Thais that you saw as well in Teatro
Uh-huh.
Municipal as well, conducted by John Neschling. And no,
Mhm.
actually, he didn't conduct it. But it was put into scene by Stefano Poda, who I had the interview a few weeks ago, and he's back in Italy, so we're going to have him back on the show. But it was really impactful, and really it fills me up. I like ballet more than anything else, but opera is, um, it covers a specific topics, and usually they're very deep topics. It deals with many things, and one of them we will talk about shortly. So I want to start also by asking. What have you been doing? Because the last time I saw you, you were doing Cicadero, who is a series on YouTube about psychology or psychiatry and music and sorry, psychiatry and cinema, where you
Mhm.
review the movies. But what have you been doing after that, and these specific projects that you've been working on, specifically in your work of psychiatry and sorry, neuroaesthetics?
You give us a hint because you said perfectly. Ballet makes me, I don't know, more is more comprehensible. It's more with my feelings. I suppose neuroaesthetic is exactly about this. How art can make us perceive it by emotions and feelings. Neurostatics is a way to comprehend and to explain how the nervous system receives the impact, the sensations from an art object, and of course how the artist try to explain every art object has an affection, has some kind of feeling um, surrounded it. And this that thing that you said, the ballet is more close to you, is more, I don't know, make you feel more comfortable or make you recover some memories. And is exactly what neuroaesthetics purpose is to study, to comprehend, to and anyway to make some sense to us. We are scientists, we are psychiatrists, and it's very important to us to know this process of perception of the world, mainly the art. That was, I don't know, um, the synonym of beauty and good.
You gave a good example because when you go to see and watch and listen to Mozart, you can recover feelings most of emotions, much more than when you watch and listen to Tchaikovsky, Rachmaninoff. They put you when they want to put, and Mozart always want to recover feelings with his music and his singing, and that is a very nice difference. When you want to see Tchaikovsky, you want emotions, you want something new, something on your skin, under your skin, exactly. And Mozart, you want to think about your life and you recover feelings and affects of the past. And this is the big difference when you watch opera and listen to music.
Mhm.
I as you were talking about it right now, it came to my mind that there's one piece specifically, the planets Holst. When
Mhm.
they play Jupiter, I always
Mhm.
think about my father, and my father left us exactly 43 years ago, a couple of days ago. But when it plays, doesn't matter where I am, it triggers something, and it's very interesting, and I don't know how to explain it. Why is it that Jupiter makes me think about my father, and it brings such a deep thing out of me? And I'll let you try to explain this to me. And why does every single piece that we listen to triggers different memories, different feelings, different sensations?
Art initially was Aristotle talk about art as a form of purgation, catharsis. You know, I thought Aristotle because it's I don't know, 3,000, 2,000 and so on years ago. Um, uh, was the philosophers in general try to thought about this because when you see something that you you perceive as beautiful and meaningful for you, it's because it recovers some kind of emotion, as José Paulo said, some kind of emotion, some kind of I don't know, representation. There is a word in English for representation. I suppose it is in representation that was very particular, very subjective, but very personal, and mainly it's impossible to explain because it's an Alex emotion. If I make when I remember my grandma Italian and she was sing some canzonetta and I listen again. I remember her making tomato sauce and preparing the Sunday lunch for whole the family. It makes me very emotional, very I don't know, sad in some way, but in other happy for has lived those things. Now, of course, so many years after, we have our memories, we have our representations. And maybe Jupiter, that's the strongest of the planets, is the much more impact. And it's a little bit serene. It's not like Mars, that was war. It's not like Venus, that was so feminine. But Jupiter is a very, I don't know, serene and at the same time strong, and maybe this makes some brings back some memories that was very particular, but I suppose it's for all of us. This is very important. If you think why Mona Lisa is so everybody so craving to see it, so it's necessary to see. If you go to Paris and don't enter the Louvre to see Mona Lisa, you didn't go to Paris at all. It's like it's seeing the Tour Eiffel, like that. Or,
I've been 3 times to Paris. I have yet to see the Mona Lisa because the lines are
yes,
the
yeah,
lines
because
were
you are
always so
very
big.
special. Oh, yes, that's the point. But you see, everybody, when you stay in front of that picture, it's not the picture that you see. it's your memories, it's your expectation, your imaginary over that uh, image, and then you try to find that. People immediately try to keep it, taking photographs. It's an absurd. It's ridiculous. Now, you turn your back to the picture and somebody take your picture. It's absolutely, I don't know, surreal.
It
But
is.
I suppose people tries to keep that moment in a way that I stayed there, I was there, and put on the Facebook and Instagram and make it this kind of person happy. But I'm not criticizing. I'm just pointing that art brings with itself this imaginary, this expectation. You know, if you go to an opera expecting to see Le Nozze del Figaro with 4 hours and I don't know 50 minutes long, and you are not into his story and the plot, and of course it's a boring experience. This is a very big difference between opera and movies. Movies, everything is there. You go and you see what the director, the I don't know, the photographer, the artists want you to see. Opera, no. Opera is like seeing a picture. It's like seeing a ballet. You have to you have to make your an interpretation of that point. It's much more working. You have to work a little bit more to it's like music, more sophisticated, a quartet, a trio, sonatas, Beethoven sonatas. Is very hard to go to the deep meaning of those music. Is You have to, I don't know, try a lot to reach the point. But it's very subject. If you, I don't know, feel this press to go, and you go, and if not, it's a beautiful music. You can have lunch, you have tea, listen to the Beethoven trios, and everything's okay.
The
But opera,
steps,
yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
the step the steps between our work of art and our mind, you can understand linking first the stimulus, the work, fine arts or a ballet, a piece of music or opera, the impact this piece in your cerebral, the mind, as sensation and perception. Then you make connections first with memory. You can memorize the impact and judge it. You can think about it and put it in your memory like a recover to be. When you watch, when you listen to some kind of music, you can recover some things of the past, and you link with affection. And this is the steps of between the work of art, what an artist wants to show you, but you have the point of the observer, of your past and your experience, and then you can judge it. But everything about this is in a minute, in a second,
Instantaneous. Mhm.
and this is explain why Rachmaninoff can do something to me and Mozart something totally different, and the difference between the composers and or the scene of opera, the representation of opera as a director. You told about Thais. Stefano Podà is a very
Visual.
visual. He's visual and he likes white all the time, white and gray, and he works with this combination very well. And the music and ballet, everything is so designed that it's like a Rachmaninoff. He puts you when he wants to put.
Why? I want to get into the part of health and arts, but before we do that, I want to ask you, Zé, why is it so difficult to start to enjoy opera? I'm not saying to enjoy it always, but the start. it's very, very hard to get into opera. Why is that?
Uh, there's a point I really need to explain. When you say opera, it's very strange because it's like you say literature. You cannot start reading Proust. It's very hard. If you start to reading Heidegger, if you start to read, it's very, very hard. You start with a little, I don't know, comics. You start with a fairy tale. You start with something that's much more easy. uh, any kind of art uh, have to be taken step by step. If you go to see a comedy like I don't know, Donizetti, La Fille du Régiment, it's a series of marches and beautiful music and very easy because it's a girl that's, I don't know, brought up as a tomboy and she was in love with a guy from enemy. Uh, and that is very easy. Of course, if you start with Parsifal from Wagner, this is impossible. You cannot, even because it's completely different. And then when you say opera, I would like to say there is a ABC in opera. You know, Aida, Bohème, and Carmen. Those three are very good introduction because it's much more close. It's a history that you can follow. There is not you have to say some historical facts to really understand that. No, it's everything is there. The music is beautiful. It's not by chance that are the three most popular operas from all time. And then I suppose it's like everything else is different to you. I suppose the comparison between opera and literature makes my point clear.
I think opera, there is something special with opera that you have to study before. It's not a nice thing to say, but you have to read about the opera. You have to study the characters because most of the opera cuts. They made cuts of the line of the subject. One act they are in love, the next one they are separated, and you have to understand before. Then you have to know about what are you going to see, what are you going to listen to. Then it's a normal difference between opera and classical music when you're going to a theater and immerse with the lines of music or the orchestra and the maestro. But opera is different. You have to know what you are going to watch and to listen to.
One of the things that always impressed me at Teatro Municipal in Sao Paulo was the operas. They give you, or they sell you a book, and it's really the full story. You can really learn about the opera. It's something we don't have a lot in North America, where they give you 2 pages and another 10 pages of ads. But they really explain to you what you're about to experience. It's quite an interesting thing. I still have mine from Thais, because I was so impressed. I want to show one clip, Andres, of your work. I will start with the very first clip, and then if you can tell us a little bit about it. For all our listeners, we're doing this interview in English. The clips are in Portuguese. I thought that it would be better to do the interview in English just for a bigger reach. But the clip is in Portuguese, so just stand by. We're going to watch this one, and we'll be right back.
Sozinho. Eu vou embora sozinho. Sem pensamento sequer por essas estradas sem sol, por essas estradas desconhecidas. Quando de repente eu ouço uma música. Uma música.
Hard not to love the music, huh?
Yes, the conception of the sarau, it's a word, a French word that's I don't know, translate to saloon in English maybe. And how to explain what saloon is? Um, we try to look, as a psychiatrist, we have the idea that this kind, probably people don't understand the first part that I was talking. It was about listen to some music that brings memories. And then the tenor, the great Daniel Umbellino, starts singing Melancolia Ninfa Gentile, melancholy, gentle spirit. That is the I don't know, the inspiration for this sarau specifically. That was about the Napolitan melancholy. Uh, we try to understand in these saraus the subjectivity, what is implicit in the transmission of those emotions, and then it's a good start. It's very strong music, and this project with José Paulo Fiks and Flávio Lago, our pianist, we started 4 years ago.
4 years ago.
4 years ago, and it was very successful. It started as a meeting, in a psychiatrist meeting. It was the first time in the planet, okay, that we imagine it, and we have some sponsor for this, and we present in a psychiatrist meeting this kind of explanation about the composers and the state of mind, the soul state, when they composed that particular piece of music. And it was tremendously successful. It was considered the best thing in the meeting. And then somebody invited us to a school to make a presentation. And then somebody invited us to the public theater to make the saraus in the form that is presented nowadays. But start with this idea of try to uh, understand the mind state of the composer, and then try to transmit this. I tell before as a narrator what is going on, and then it was singing, and then I translate the poetry. José Paulo makes the text and the translations, and it's a good experience. Not a profitable one, of course. Art is not. We cannot. But okay, it's so I don't know, full of good feelings, good sentiments, that is very rewarding for us.
Yep.
We started as a event in a meeting. Then now we have appointments in a theater in São Paulo, Sérgio Cardoso. The link was done with our friend Paulo Esper from São Paulo, and he does opera. He makes opera.
He's a producer.
He's a producer, and now it's to the city. This kind of sarau, of saloon, is to São Paulo city.
It's for everybody. There is no more a specification for doctors or psychologists or psychoanalysts or neurologists. No, it's open for public in general. And we have full houses all the time. People has really interested in those kind of events, and that's okay.
Let's watch another clip. We have one more, and we'll wrap this section, and then I'll start asking you a little harder questions for the time.
Okay.
Let's see a little bit more of Salón Sarau Psi.
Nós estávamos calmamente sentados, na sombra refrescante das árvores. Parecíamos tão confortáveis com o riacho aos nossos pés, e a lua surgiu. E por trás, as estrelas, que refletiam suavemente sobre aquele espelho prateado. E eu não vi mais a lua, nem a luz das estrelas. Eu procurei seu retrato, através de seu olhar solitário. Ela mesma percebeu seu balanço e o olhar, através do reflexo do bendito riacho. As pequenas flores nas margens, um azul, como se assumissem dela cuidar. E perdido no riacho, todo o céu parecia que me queria, e com isso me puxava para suas profundezas. Sobre as nuvens e as estrelas, o riacho murmurava alegremente e chamava com seu encanto: companheiro, companheiro, segue-me. Então os meus olhos embaçaram, o espelho de água turvou-se e ela disse: vai chover, então adeus, vou para casa.
So traulich beisammen in kühlen Erlendach. Wir schauten so traulich zusammen hinab.
One of the pieces of Sarah Upsi. It's amazing because it looks like the public is really into it. I suppose it's really an enjoyable thing when it's presented in this way. When you get to hear the explanation of what the music is.
You have chosen a very special music for us. And then the Schoenmüllerin is a cycle of love in general, but love in a way that the person I love is not always in the same mood, in the same state of comprehension that myself. And then the guy is so poetic. He's looking to a pond. There are stars. There is a light rain, and he's pour his art out. And the girl say, "Wow, it's raining. I'm going home." It's exactly the difference between the feeling and on one and the reception and the way the other, I don't know, receives this feeling. And it's good. It's exactly what we like to study, you know.
There is a huge link between romantic music and romantic poetry and psychiatry. They started at the same time in the 19th century.
Mhm.
They are the same age. Then we can do many salons of this kind of music and this kind of poetry, and is telling the poetry because we are very specific to our public to translate all that is sang in our salons. Everyone understands that we are trying to show and trying to explain.
Mhm. Okay.
Yep. I wanted to move on to the more pressing topics, and the reason you're here, obviously, is to analyze a little bit of our health and the impact of art, and specifically of music, because it's what we know best. I had a conversation with René Fleming. I think it was last year, where they started to actually do serious research on the positive effect of music, specifically of classical music, in the health of people with Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, so on and so forth. And I'm really interested to know, especially at this time in history, how can music help us? I think that we're under tremendous pressure because we've been locked up in our apartments or our houses, and we feel I don't know how we feel anymore, Andres. You will have to help me with this one. If we feel sad, or if we feel lonely, or if we feel I don't know how to express the feeling, and of that we don't have any power because we don't know what we're dealing with, and I I mean, this program started because we were locked up and I didn't have a lot to do outside of work. So we're looking into art and music to try to deal with our emotions. So, what is the impact? How does it work? Musicians are also in shambles. They don't know when the next performance will be. So, how is this impacting, people in general, and how do we look for the arts to help us solve these very, even the feelings are hard to express. So, how do we find some solace on art?
Uh, if we, it's a very complex answer, but I try to I don't know, explain my thought. José Paulo can help me. I suppose the art in general is related to beauty, you know, and the times we are living are ugly times, are the difficult times. It's a known, we cannot see the future. We know that will be very different, but we didn't know the I don't know, the range of this difference. And of course, everybody is a little bit, I don't know, in panic, assustado, fear, fearing this future that's so unknown for all of us. And of course, music is art more accessible. We listen to music all the time since we get up in the morning with our, I don't know, alarm clocks that are musicals nowadays. We go to gym with music. We go to I don't know, even mourning people that has died with music. And music is a very important part of our lives. Uh, of course, at these times, we are experimenting mixed feelings because we can, it's not fair just to spoke about classical music. People are trying to make lives. There was a lot of lives at the beginning of the restriction when you cannot go to the streets. Nowadays, there, this this is a little bit saturated, is not so appealing anymore because people want the sun to go to the streets to hold his friends. It's absolutely comprehensible. But I suppose again, uh, art is directly connected with beauty and pleasure. At so difficult times, people try to access this pleasure and this beauty through art, and even some we listen music, we read all the time. We are professors at the university. We have to study all the time, but nowadays we can really dedicate more time to deep our comprehension, our perception at this how art really makes people transcend a little bit to go out of themselves and uh, reunite with other people that are alone like that. Like you said, everybody's you are so far from us, and of course nobody's seeing and hugging and kissing their loved ones. I don't see my mother and my father for 4 months. It's hard. It's a very special time.
Music as art makes social boundaries, and we think about that when you go to the theater, when you talk about what we saw and what we listen to. But it's impossible now. Uh, uh, Rui Castro is a famous journalist, Brazilian journalist. He launched a book just before the pandemic, this COVID-19, and he taught us that the carnival, the real carnival, started just after the Spanish flu. In the opposite of people thought, after a pandemic time, I will stay at home, and it was the opposite. Then we can see what must happen after the vaccine. I think in the beginning of next year. But until the vaccine, we have plenty of time, and you have to think about it. Alex Ross, another writer I loved from New York, he wrote in his book The Rise is Noise that American people started to listen to music during the first Great War through the radio, and they learned how to listen classical music. Then you can tell me, you can tell there's nothing like a theater experience. Of course, is nothing like a theater experience, but you have to go back to the history and to think about the times of war and another pandemic that made some progress in the music field and how people can listen to. I think things are going more online, and you have to learn how to do it, how to talk to the camera, uh, how to see and how to communicate to our public. And I think it's a new field and very important and very democratic, because I can reach people from another places in the world. And I think it's a very nice experience that's coming with technology. Even our saloon and many things like that. The opera experience, Metropolitan Opera, taught us how to watch opera in the movie theater, and it's very good since 10 years, and they show very well. I think something like that.
New
One,
times, Alex.
sorry,
New
sorry.
times.
New,
New
definitely
time.
new times. Yeah, for sure. Very, very different. Which brings me to another a couple of questions. How do we deal? I guess I'm projecting myself a little here. How do we deal with the our own mortality at this point, which usually it's something that you deal once or twice during a lifetime, but now every day I see it on TV. Everybody is worried, and everybody's more worried about their own mortality. It's a deep question. How to deal with that every single day, because we're trapped. We don't have the closeness to. I guess the social component is non-existent right now. So how do we deal with those things that are so hard, so deep, when we're in isolation?
Yeah. I suppose that art is a way, but we are in times, when I said in new times, we are no more in times of action or interaction uh, in a personal ways, basis like physical base. But we are in times of introspection. We are in times of building our inner world, you know, in times to increase our self much more than our um, face to others, our persona. This is a moment that you have to really enjoy due to what I'm learning. That is the basic angst, the anxious, the anxiety, more original. Everybody will die. This is a law with taxes. That's the point. It's inevitable. And then, how can I make this perception more fruitful, more enrichable for me and for my loved ones? Uh, it's a moment like I said, there's no action. I cannot do things, but I can think. I can reflect. I can know more consistently, more deeper, more meaningful about myself, about my feelings towards the world, and my friends and my loved ones in general. It is not an easy task because we are not training for that. People are being very, I don't know, inventive, creative. Craft is everywhere, like people doing bread at home, doing gym at home, doing, I don't know, children motivations at home. This is a point. When you have a family, you are not completely isolated. If you don't have a family near you, uh, the, 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 the feelings are more hard. And then you have to, you have to taking the grip of I will using this time to learning more about myself and the things that really interests me, and not to perform but to inform myself. Do you agree?
I totally agree. And I think the experience is the same as I told about going to the opera. You have to study more, but about yourself, what you like, what you want to learn, because it's this quarantine is like a sabbatic year imposed. You have to stay at home. You have to listen to your things, your music, do it all again, watch good movies, and you have to stay home and you have to learn to learn how to make your time a good experience because there is no another way. But it will pass and we start all over again. But you have to learn how to do it when it's coming again because nobody knows what it's when it happens again. But I think this experience, like go to the opera, I think it's a good hint.
It's
And you know,
yep.
look, you are very, I don't know, I feel very close to you, and but you know, this kind of communication, we can really, I don't know, talk about ourselves in a way that's not
More
very
profound.
profoundly and more real, more truthful, if it's possible, because you know we are much more sensitive. We are much more, I don't know, ready to expose ourselves. This, uh, I think it's a very good thing, you know, that if I like you, if I perceive you in an emotional state, I'm feeling much more close to you, and this is very important because even though we are separate, we are not alone. We can talk, we can call, we can see each other, we can really
Stay close.
yes, stay close in a way much more profound, much more personal. Um, I don't have the soccer game to comment today. You know, I have to talk about myself. Oh, I'm feeling that I'm missing the soccer game, and then I start by my proper self. I'm talking about myself, not more about the soccer game or the opera or the concert, but about I'm feeling sad because I cannot go and cannot see my friends. I cannot, I don't know, make it wow because I am on the stadium and I am involved in that event. It's a how I said before. It's a really new time, new times, but not bad times.
No, very, very different. I mean, I've spoken with many friends, and this is, we are actually living the movie. It's one of those things. This is the movie didn't expect to see, and there's two, three movies that are very close to this, but it was the case of fiction, and this is life imitating art at this point instead of art imitating life. I in my conversation with Gian Andrea Noceda also last year, he told me that the music that he enjoys the most is the music that has been composed in times of intense change. So Stravinsky, he really likes in moments that are complicated for humanity. That's the music he enjoys the most, and I guess this is the time when some composers will have the time to compose something different because we need this now.
But look, Schubert wrote music when there were syphilis in Europe. Tchaikovsky composed it when there was cholera in Russia, and they were epidemic times as well. Then
Chopin with tuberculosis.
Chopin, yes, with tuberculosis.
Mahler is impotent, and all feelings between even the first Great War.
Then we can learn about this composer too, because they were the same time, the same bad times, and even operas. When you think about Violetta in La Traviata, she has tuberculosis. Mimi in La Boheme has tuberculosis because it was a 19th century tragedy as COVID now. It's the same feeling of that time.
I have two more questions because I know we're running long, but it's okay because it's such a pleasure and a great conversation. But I wanted to ask you first about the social changes that are going on around the world, mainly in the United States. Do you think that this was triggered because of any of these feelings that are inside? I mean, there has always been the problem of racism, and not only on race but also on religion. It's not a new problem; it's a problem, but right now it came exactly at the point of the pandemic. Is one a trigger of the other?
Yeah, as a psychoanalyst, I would say that when a situation is unbearable, like the pandemic, the quarantine, and then you have to transport yourself to another situation. This racist situation makes some make up uh, over the feeling of I am I don't know, exposed to an enemy that has no face. This virus is terrible. I cannot see my friends. I cannot. If I go to some place, I can be the cause of death of my father and mother, and my grandfather, my grandmother. It's terrible. If my children go to school, they can bring home a terrible thing. It's so the thought is so complex, it's so unbearable. Then to try to reach something that's possible, and this is when you start a riot. I will fight for the anti-racist. I don't know, Black Lives Matters. It's so absurd, somebody, I don't know, writes on a billboard, uh, Black Lives Matter. Any life matter. It's a human life. When you have to put black, it's because you are, I don't know, buying some cause to really put yourself, to put your emotions, and to put your, I don't know, your tension. I will not feeling uh, sad or I don't know, in panic over the quarantine, but I will fight for our black brothers. And I suppose this is some overlay over this feeling that you thought, that you asked before. The We are very near our anxiety of death, and then if I fight, I don't know if you permit an experience. I read about it. I don't know if it's really true, but it's when the in September 11, 2001, the towers was falling,
Destroyed.
destroyed. There is a picture of a woman in a uh, building that was partially destroyed, and she was with a shoe. I don't know, uh, batendo,
Banging.
smashing,
Knocking.
no, smashing something on the wall. They tried to find this woman, and this woman was killing a cockroach. And the question was, "Why are you doing this?" And she said, "There was a cradle with a baby. I cannot do anything for the baby, but I can kill the cockroach." Make sense?
It's
It's a strong one.
I think there's one point we have to remember. Opera uh, always has been a democratic place. I think never in another kind of art we saw what we have seen in opera between races and between minorities, because since the beginning of the opera theater experience, we have seen women singing like men, men singing like women, blacks singing like Japanese, and it's the opera story of all time. I think when the Me Too movement it started in opera since the beginning. I think before movies and before social movement.
matter.
I think opera started in the beginning, Metropolitan Opera and most of the American theaters started to reveal his story about the sex abuse and everything so on. I think opera is a special field that is very alert about the human experience since the beginning.
This is very important, Alex, because you see, it's like I said before, it's a human, a voice, a special voice in opera or Singspiel or I don't know, even a popular, a special voice is much more important, as always, than a color of the skin, of the nationality. You see, when you uh, learn and you listen, Leontine Price, there was a black singer singing Madama Butterfly. That is an opera that was singing Italian about a Japanese girl, and everything is possible. And you are so moved that you are crying your heart out at the end of the opera because the voice was there. It's the human voice that can really touch us. I really have goosebumps. I am feeling always so surprised when I listen somebody that's really exposing himself or herself with his her voice.
Truth art.
Yes.
Yeah, as you were talking about specifically about Madame Butterfly, it's one of those things that right now everything has to be politically correct, and a lot of people are criticizing, particularly this work, because it's the Occidental way of telling an Oriental story. And I think we're also running the risk of losing a little bit of the art to political correctness, and it's that's a whole conversation that we should have in another occasion, because it's a big conversation of how
Yes,
do we
yes.
address political correctness backwards. We can only change things from here forward, but not
Yes, I
what has
agree.
been. what has been done before. Yep.
This is so stupid. You know, it's like Shakespeare that never goes to Italy. We cannot read Romeo and Juliet. And if you, he never went to Denmark, but we cannot read the Hamlet. It's absurd. You know, it's completely absurd. And then the history of Madame Butterfly is based on a play from David Belasco, and the play was before the music was put in it and by Puccini. And then it's a long, long story, and we have a very strong point about this. And I suppose we have to experience as human conceptions, not
So,
the color, not the race, not the nationality, not any of this.
well,
My opinion of it.
that is exactly the beauty of all of this, of the art, and the artist bringing things that exactly give you the emotion and the strength to go on and even fight for what you think is right. I don't think anything else does it like the arts do. I want to finish our conversation today by asking you a hard question, but you are two of the smartest people I've ever known. So I'm gonna ask you specifically you because you traveled all around the world. You spent before the pandemic a lot of time traveling, really to places to appreciate art from every single culture, every single country, and this seems that it's not going to happen anymore. It's going to be very, very different. We were talking about that the jumping from one country to the next every day, it's not going to happen. Now the trips are going to be like in the old days. It's going to take more time. After the virus goes, or if it stays, what's the future? What is in our future? And I'm not saying read the crystal ball, but what's coming to us as a whole, as humanity, as individuals? What should we be looking at?
I suppose we don't have an answer for all, but we're doing, as you mentioned, as we are starting a project to build a cultural center to really, you see our opera collection and the recollection of our trips, and this center will be to offer to the public musical, opera, concert, small concerts, to, enfim, to put ourselves at service at the São Paulo population. It's a project. Sometime we had to stop. This was not because we got old enough, but because the pandemic state and the coronavirus make us, I don't know, advance these plans. And then we are starting a new way of communication. We can use, it's like a teacher, a professor. All the time you have to read 10 books to speak half hour. You have to, if you will travel a lot and we experience a lot of art expositions, the music and concerts and ballet and music and theater. And then it's time to really, I don't know, divide this to really try to transmit for early and younger generations this love for art in general. We are in this project with José Paulo, Claudia Fiks, Yara Fiks. It's a lot of Fiks this, and of course Flavio Lago and myself. We are trying to build a new way to I don't know, to face the future. It's a project. This is I suppose the answer, the solution for everyone. A project, something that you can really accomplish. You know.
I think it's look around your community, think about your neighbor, and go online. I think this is the new future.
Yes.
Excellent.
Very
Thank
proceed. Very.
that. Well, that is actually why I started the music of you know me very well. I wanted to do something like this for a long time, and when we started streaming the concerts, unfortunately, there's not a lot of concerts to stream, and it's something that we have to reimagine. How is the art going to look from here on, and it's something we're working on. But it has given me the opportunity of having these conversations with people that I think that are very interesting, that have a lot to say, and it's a lot of fun. I want to thank you very much for joining me this morning. It's been a pleasure. I hope you will come back and we'll have more conversations on other topics that are not related to a pandemic, that we can review your projects again in the future, maybe talk about specific operas. And thank you very much for everything. It's a pleasure talking to you. We haven't spoken in a couple of years, but it's great to see you both. Say hello to everybody, all our friends in Brazil. I miss Brazil deeply, and hopefully in the near future we'll be able to be there again. Thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We will be back next week. Stay tuned, because we will have some special guests coming next week. So thank you very much for joining us. See you next time.